First up, Bobby Kennedy reveals his secret key to health is blue porta potty water, and his new health guidelines for Americans to consume foods with more blue and less red. Next, AOC comes out in favor of exploiting foreign workers.
The millions of undocumented people in this country are why America has prospered, especially why we survived the COVID-19 pandemic. And for all of the people who cast a vote based on grocery prices and inflation, if you think your groceries are expensive now, wait until the farms are empty. If you think houses are expensive now, wait until there's no one building them. Understand the consequences of what this means. Because for America to not accept immigrants is the definition of cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Showcasing her 2025 look of dressing like a 65-year-old accountant. Normalizing the difficulty of ironing and help making the case for sloppy men that it's actually not that easy to look put together. With the end of USAID, we interview the Guatemalans demanding the rest of their sex changes, with some Guatemalans claiming their penis was removed but not their balls, and that they're having a hard time finding lovers interested in their front hole with balls hanging below it. And lastly, Trump says he wants the U.S. to stop minting pennies, leaving Jews to wonder what they're supposed to collect.
It's your daily dose of misinformation, pulled from a lightly hemorrhoided asshole. It's today's Run Your Mouth!
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Run Your Mouth podcast. I have a dense episode coming at you with tips on how to survive this constitutional crisis and investment opportunities in Gaza rubble. I have a big position. I took it out a while ago, and, luckily Trump's coming in to support Bitcoin and help us Gaza rubble speculators with potential investments. But first, I am living an absolute nightmare right now. Luckily, I think there's enough soundproofing equipment in here that you guys don't have to listen to what I don't know. Tell me if in the background you guys can hear what I hear in this room. But the neighbor situation is so much worse than just the construction. I thought, okay, it's going to be a couple days of construction and I can just ignore this problem and it'll go away. And that's the way I deal with most of my life. You ignore things for long enough, and sometimes that works really well. Like sometimes there's someone in your life and they're being a total nightmare, and you decide, you know what, I don't like confrontation. I'm going to say nothing. And then they just go fix themselves. And you're like, wow, you're a much better version of you now. I'm glad I said nothing. It just reminds me why my financial goals are making enough money that I can just go live in the woods. I think that that's the healthiest way of dealing with people when you don't like confrontation, is having a financial goal of, I want to grow out this beard so long that it just blends in with my pubic hairs and live in the woods where, I'll choose the music for the woods. The woods will listen to the tunes that I want to listen to. The best I can describe of I don't even understand, I thought we were done with the wokeism and the stupid nonsense of this country, but somehow, next to me, they are running a wood shop and dance class. Is that actually what's going on? That's the only way I can describe what I'm listening to, is the shit music of, if you ever got dragged to a Soul Cycle and they're playing like these jungle hypno-techno things that might make sense when you're on Molly at a rave party at 4 a.m. because you're 22 years old and you like really stupid shit. And then somebody decided that they were going to run saw equipment. It's quite an enterprise over there. Someone's a real entrepreneur that for some reason they've decided to combine the businesses of a wood shop and dance studio into the same location. Or I guess maybe making the gayest dressers of all time. That they're listening to songs like the techno version of It's Raining Men while building a wood stuff. it's a mashup that doesn't make sense. It's the manly activities of people that like working in a wood shop combined with the worst music I've ever heard in my life, played at Washington Heights. I'd like to show off my speakers for my trunk type volume. If you ever gone to Washington Heights, some people, they don't even have passengers in their car. Instead of passengers, they like listening to their music at, I would say, planes coming overhead type sonic boom levels. And so they'll import giant speakers into the back seat of their trunk to make sure that they can drown out everyone else's noise and show off how loud and annoying they are. And at some point, I might do the healthy thing and take enough Adderall that I feel like I have the muster to say something. This is like working a job you don't like for 4 years and finally realizing, I think I have to quit. It's also why I don't like to date, because who wants to make that phone call? I don't really like doing this anymore. I don't know. Maybe we'll start streaming at 2 in the morning when they're not there. I don't think you guys have to hear it. The nightmare that I'm going through, and then we'll move on. I got a whole episode of Gaza Rubble and USAID, but you guys are the only people I talk to in life. And so the situation I'm faced with is I actually liked having this office space, and I'm not particularly good at getting work done. But before, when I wasn't getting work done, it was in a nice, quiet, calm setting with a big window and high ceilings, and the only excuse you had for not getting work done was your own ADD and incapability of getting things done. And, at some point in time, I would get the porch tour dates done, I'd get the merch up, I'd respond to an email here and there. In the future, I'm going to be like, Your Honor, I didn't do my taxes because a wood shop with rave music opened up next to me. And now every time I walk into my studio, I experience all the rage that I've ever contained within my soul. It just pours out of me from the second I walk into the whatever. Hey guys, we're gonna deal with it. We'll deal with it. I'm amping myself up right now. Maybe we'll do Howard Stern type segments, and we'll get a documentary crew to come over here as I confront my neighbor on what exactly his business model is of the wood shop. The last time I tried to negotiate with a competitor was, and you can go way back down the Run Your Mouth archives, and it's the only time I've ever heard of iTunes taking down content, but somebody out there has a very different show with the exact same name, and I had the name first, and I thought it might be funny to challenge them to the name, that perhaps we could come up with different things, including what they specialize in, which is athleticism, which I don't have, and particularly the sport that they're in. And they took it so far that they defamed the content and actually had my episode. There's only one episode that does not exist from the Run Your Mouth archive in any capacity. We've had things that went to different YouTube channels at times. And so, you had to do your homework to find stuff during COVID. But there's one episode that iTunes actually was taken down because when I had a friendly challenge, I tried to think, hey, it's funny that we have such different lives and different shows with the same name. Perhaps I can throw down the gauntlet and we can cross-promote here, and we can put up our names on the line, and that could be interesting for both of our shows, and then now we won't both have shows with the same names. At this point, though, the Run Your Mouth name, you can go to YouTube. There's like 40 shows with this name. I was here first. I'll claim the territory of having been here first, and then I like the name because it's a little bit like Legion of Skanks. It kind of lets you know it's the most offensive podcast on earth. So if you're going to be upset about it, the name told you. It's Run Your Mouth. Did I research everything? Well, I got a pretty good record of being right, but that's the amount of ownership I want to take over these opinions to try and avoid being sued or whatever else. No one listens to this enough that should even be a concern. But anyways, that's the only thing that didn't ever exist. So I'm just trying to say the one time in the podcast space we tried to challenge somebody and handle things diplomatically, it got out of control real quick. Anyways, we'll get into a whole bunch of show, and maybe we'll deal with that situation. And all right, let's take some comments. Show brought to you by YoKratom.com, home of the $60 kilo, only place in the entire world that can get you an entire kilo of kratom for $60 and drain out the noise of your neighbors. Runaway Slav, AOC supports financial slavery. That is an incredible clip. It's one of my favorite jokes, just reframing exactly people's words in their own words. But there you have AOC as she was demanding workers' rights, workers' protections, and how we need to prop up the disenfranchised. We got to help out the poor. We have to have, we need to make sure that there's good jobs for all Americans, and these people are being taken advantage from corporations. But apparently, even AOC acknowledges that there's this thing called prices, and when you show up to stores, you don't want things to be too expensive, and people have to be able to manage their businesses and be able to hire whoever they want at the prices that they can afford to pay them in order that they can keep the cost of the goods down and competitive so that people can actually afford to purchase them. And so she acknowledges that because of the regulations that she has imported or stood by, such as, everyone needs to earn a living wage, that's only for Americans, because at the end of the day, there is a concern that you want to be able to go out to a store and actually be able to afford things, or if you have a restaurant, and you want to have your profit margins, and they're hard to run successful restaurants. You might actually need some foreign workers there for running a farm. And so even AOC acknowledges that there should be a slave class of workers who are imported by foreign companies and take the American jobs at lower wages, because that's the only way that America can continue to operate. And so when she's talking about fairness and socialism and living wages, she actually agrees that that should only be for U.S. citizens, and that little threshold of having a nice life and having government health care and all those other socialized benefits will require slave labor beneath it in order for it to operate. So, runaway Slav, I agree with you on that one. And somehow you can bring it back to why the Jews are at fault. Barconius. You know what all guests have in common? They go home eventually. Not always. Sometimes you invite guests into your home, they move onto the couch, and it becomes like here, where you don't want to go to your own apartment for a whole while because you're not sure how to get the homeless guy out of your living room. That happens too. Matzo balls. Thank God for that right bark. I don't know what that is. Trout slop. Yay, it's my favorite podcast. Thank you. That's kind of you. Barconius. What do you do with uninvited house guests? What does the entirety of the rest of the world do with them? It's absolutely wild that they've managed to moralize an obvious issue. All right, let's take one more comment. AOC, getting fat, LOL. Could just be the camera angle. Ben Joels, AOC's milk could be used to make new age government cheese. Mr. Rude Boy, when Robbie gets cooking, he sounds like Jackie Mason. Yeah, the inner Jew comes out. That is an accurate statement. All right, let's get into some other things that I wanted to talk about. I loved Key West. I don't want to get into that. I don't want to talk about flying stuff. I don't want to talk about any of those things. All right, let's get into the news. Here we go. Let's start with this. I did not watch any of the Super Bowl. Maybe you guys were at fine and fun parties. I was on a plane and I didn't bother to watch it. I do like to tune in, and, it's a cultural thing. If you're going to try and be a man living in the woods with a beard that mashes in with its pubic hair, sometimes it's good to study the reality that everyone else lives in and see what it is that these whippersnappers are into. It's fun to watch the commercials. It's fun to see the NFL rigging games. The whole thing. It's a good time. I'm all for a Super Bowl party, standing in the back of the room, overstuffing my face, getting drunk, and just watching the whole charade of, judging the person's party, even though I didn't throw the party, judging the food spread, and complaining about everything. That's what I like to do. Stand in the corner, judge and complain. And this time I was sitting on a plane, but Kendrick Lamar, completely unfamiliar with Kendrick Lamar. And I guess that this is the most old white guy boomery thing ever, to tune in for Kendrick Lamar and go, I don't get it. But I don't even get why this is cool. Like, sometimes there's things that you don't get, but you get why it's cool. Like Usher. I don't like Usher, but the guy's got great abs. He's dancing around. You're like, all right, that's pretty impressive. This guy's wearing bell-bottom jeans. I don't get the style look. I don't get the music of it. The whole thing, it's so funny. I guess being an old white guy and, like, bring back the Rolling Stones at this point. They're a bunch of corpses. They're not interested. You know what they should do at this point? Just AC/DC until they're dead. Every Super Bowl halftime show should just be AC/DC until AC/DC dies. And I haven't seen them in years. Last time I saw them, that's the greatest hour and a half I ever had in my entire life. But that's listen, and no, people don't always take my suggestions, even though they're really good. And in this case, I just say AC/DC until they're dead should be the only halftime show. And it's amazing to me, firstly, that rock and roll just isn't cool anymore. Kids don't know what it is. They could care less about Led Zeppelin. There's no modern rock station in all of Manhattan. K-Rock died when I was in high school. And I understand Kendrick Lamar had some beef with Drake, and now Drake's not cool anymore because he was called a pedophile. I don't understand all these things. But it was amazing to me how unimpressive this was, and that I guess that this is the peak. This is what people love. And I'm just standing on the sidelines like, I don't know, I was right about the COVID thing. I think I'm right about this too. But who knows, maybe I missed something. All this subliminal messaging. Speaking up for the little man. All right, let's get into some news. Donald Trump, he's pulling some great moves, some bad moves. It's the Donald Trump rundown of the good and bad for this week. First is he fired. That's zero hedge. But I got to read the title. Some people just listen. You're fired. Trump revokes Biden security clearance. Intel briefings over poor memory. That's a fun, petty Donald Trump moment. Doesn't just remove the security clearance, but goes, this guy's too inept to be looking at our security files. We can't have this blabbermouth cutting deals with China, seeing what's inside of all of our security files. That's outrageous. You know what he should also do is just ban Kamala Harris from television. He should go, listen, it turns out Joe Biden is too stupid to have a security clearance. He clearly has dementia, so we can't have him looking at all of our security information. He doesn't have control of his bowels. He doesn't have control of what he's saying. He doesn't know what he's remembering. We can't have him looking at all these files. But then he should also go ahead and ban Kamala Harris from television and say she's empowering the stupid, and she's letting too many stupid... She's setting a bad example of how little a person can possibly comprehend and still hold public office. There's too many people out there. The ESG score rackets are going away. They can't get college degrees studying transgender. And because we're cleaning up USAID, they're not going to be able to get jobs in Jamaica helping people transgender themselves. And what we need to do as a society is hold ourselves to a better standard of what degree of stupidity we allow into the world. And so as president, by executive order, Kamala Harris will no longer be allowed on television because she lowers the standard for the acceptable level of stupidity countrywide. All right, here's some other good Donald Trump moves. This was exclusive. Trump rules out deporting Prince Harry. This was reported by the New York Post. I don't know who asked him this question, but then he really came through with his chief gay queen, top gay queen attitude with his little snide remarks that just cuts deep and goes, there's no reason to deport him. He already has to deal with that miserable cunt of a wife of his. That's punishment enough. I'll leave him alone with that miserable whore slut wife that he's got to deal with. That's already bad. Deporting him wouldn't make his life any better or worse. I'll leave him alone. That was actually the line. I'll leave him alone, Trump said about Harry. He's got enough problems with his wife. She's terrible. Next good move by Donald Trump is he put Anna Polina in charge of the declassification of JFK assassination records, Epstein client list. And this one's an interesting move because I think that this is the best of Donald Trump. Expose the deep state, expose the storylines, let us know about all these pedophiles that exist in Washington, put it out into the world. This is how you wake people up. This is how you educate them. I mean, sure, the JFK assassination, 50, 40, 30, I don't know my history years later, they still need more time to clean up the file. But put out the Ray Epps file. Put out the Bigfoot file. Tell us about the aliens. Tell us about the drones in New Jersey. Tell us the good stuff. Stand for transparency and make it interesting. And so Donald Trump, you know, he's like an old Fox News guy, and he's like, who's the hottest person working in Congress? Let's make it interesting. Put her in charge. More people will pay attention. And it's a good strategy. You take the hottest lady in Congress with the juiciest storylines, and you roll her out there, and then maybe more people pay attention to it. Or you end up killing people's interest because perhaps when you put the hot chick in charge, she turns it into a hot chick story where they just go so long and far on the wrong details, you stop caring. Where they're like, there was this Epstein guy, and he got this math degree, and he met this one math professor this one time, and when he was studying with the math professor, people didn't think, and you're like, I don't want those details, I want the pedophile details. And when he bought an airplane, there's some trouble when he got the airplane because originally he wanted to get the one with the twin turbines, and then he got the single turbines ones, which reminds me of the time that one of my friends was supposed to take a private flight because we were going to go to this island. You're like, can you get to just the pedophile part? So anyways, it's an interesting move by Donald Trump. He's claiming more transparency than ever. He's got Elon Musk up there finding out, muck cracking where all the money's been going, all the people that are getting handouts from the government, nice contracts, little people out there, 150-year-old people just cashing in on their Social Security checks. And so this one, it's to be determined. It could be the hottest lady in all of Congress. More people tune into it than anybody else, and they actually get the storylines out there. Or it turns into lady stories, and that's their newest way to make sure that no one cares about the information. Next is Trump says he wants the U.S. to stop minting pennies, and let's get rid of all change. Change doesn't. I got to tell you, if you're running a cash business, change is a mistake anyways, because that means that more people are going to pull out their credit card. If you could walk into most places and just have things be just an even $5 or an even $3 or an even $2, I'd be so much more likely to carry cash and pay in cash. The fact that you want it becomes out to 37 cents and then I get a stack of change I'm going to do nothing with. I will do nothing with this change. I'm not a Jewish old lady coming home and putting it into a jar to then bring it to a coin star at some supermarket and stand there like a reverse slot machine. And you got to keep lifting the thing up and down, and then they take their 7%. Or whoever sat down as a kid and started actually filling quarter rolls and doing that whole business. Or sometimes you got to start sifting through your change so that you got the quarters for laundry. And then most towns, I used to keep a roll of quarters because I learned my lesson. I used to go, you keep a roll of quarters in your car so that if you end up in a situation with one of those meters, remember back in those days where you had to run around and try and find change that you could pay for the meter. You hope the meter maid doesn't show up before you find the quarters. And so you learn, hey, I got to keep a roll of quarters in the car. Not that big of a deal. And then they made it even more annoying because now you got to walk 4 blocks over and the machine's ruined. And then do I have enough time to get to the other machine? And then you got to remember your license plate, realize you didn't know your license plate. You're standing in the rain. You got to walk back to your car to put the ticket in the car after you inserted the license plate. You got to download an app. Anytime you got to download an app, it should not be legally required. You should be able to claim, hey, I'm an old lady, I don't carry a cell phone. You shouldn't need other technology in order for me to park on this street. And while we're on the topic of parking, as I'm describing right now, being a cash business or a business that would like to take in more cash, don't have things with quarters and change because you're slowing down your own process, you're making it more annoying. Just round up or down, we'll move on with our lives. Nobody wants the change. On the same note, I can't stand when I'm in towns that aren't New York City and they don't have their parking worked out. I understand Chicago. I understand Los Angeles. But I understand major cities. They want to charge for the downtown parking. But then sometimes you're in an area where the downtown is all of 4 blocks and then it's nothing but vacant land surrounded it. And it's like, make your downtown more convenient. No one wants to have to pay for parking here. I'm in the middle of fucking Kansas. There's no reason for this. I can't tell you how often I'm in some small town and they're like an empty club with the rope type system where you want to pretend like it's a full club, so you're going to have to stand in a line to then get into a room that has nobody inside of it to pay for an overpriced drink, but they want to pretend like it's an exclusive. That's what you're doing in your shitty towns when you're charging for parking for absolutely no reason, is you're just trying to pretend like you're in a more important town than you actually are. And if anything, you're just reducing the business volume of the downtown businesses. Oh, what are we going to do to revitalize the downtown business? I don't know. Maybe don't tax the shit out of people. Maybe bring back bags so people can just carry their shit. There's no reason why it should be more convenient to have things sent to my door from Amazon than if I want to actually walk into a store and buy it. Why is it that Amazon can send things to my house with so much packing materials I can build a boat, but if I walk into a store, they can't just hand me a bag so I can walk out with the items? So anyways, get rid of the pennies, get rid of all change for all that I care. All right, next is no more paper. Trump vowed to reverse a Biden administration plan to phase out plastic straws from the federal government's food service operations. And for all the talk about taxes, budgets, deficits, this, that, or the next thing, I mean, the fact that we need to be doing this at a federal level and that the president needs to pay attention to things this minute is ridiculous, but it's also great. It's also great that Donald Trump is actually taking on some of the things that are the most annoying in our lives. I told you, he talks like he's on both sides of a Seinfeld conversation. Great idea. The best idea. I had it. No one should do it that way. He's playing George and Jerry in most conversations. And like a classic New Yorker, he's also taken on the petty bullshit, which is just give me back the plastic straw. Fuck the turtles. All right, I drink way too much coffee to be getting plastic straws that are disintegrating in my mouth. Or there's nothing worse. You go into there, it's a sippy cup. I know, I don't want a sippy cup. I want a fucking straw. Believe me, I prefer hot coffee. I'm just trying not to ruin my teeth because I drink 10 of these a day, and I got to look at my stupid face on camera. And I don't want to be spending $1,000 3 times a year to get my fucking teeth whitened. And so I drink it through a straw, so at least it minimizes how much blackness I just have brushing up against my teeth. And then you get big dentists coming in. And by the way, you know what soda does to your teeth? For all you people drinking soda out there, you drinking soda without straws? You're talking Cavity City right there. And so what do? They try and take away the straws. They pretend like the paper ones were better. There's no way the paper ones are even better for you. Who knows what kind of shit you're now just absorbing into your system because they disintegrate into your coffee. The same way that the masking made no sense, that for your child's safety, we're going to put blue-dyed cloth from the factories of China against their face for 2 years and not let them breathe fresh air for their own health. We'll find out about that one at some point in time. What's the effect of a blue-dyed cloth from a factory in China being against your kid's face? It's for your own safety. Yeah, and I love a turtle. I love a sea turtle. Are you kidding me? I'm that kind of autistic. I hate the Fed and I love sea turtles. That's the autist that I am. I like an aquarium every now and again. Walking around an aquarium, you know what's first on my list? If they got sharks, I want to see the sharks. If they got giant shit, I want to see the giant shit. I like seahorses. You know what? Those are fun to look at. I feel like that old walk on me walkway guy at the moment, but I like a nice seahorse and I like a sea turtle. I like seeing a turtle. I used to walk this little park by me. You have these little snapping turtles. I like looking at a turtle. I'm a big fan of turtles, but I'm a bigger fan of straws, okay? And if I got to choose between the occasional turtle that's got a straw through its nose or not being able to ever have a plastic straw, I'll take 25 dead turtles a year before I even reconsider this one. You show me pictures of 25 dead turtles. By the way, how many turtles die just crossing a highway? Are we actually even saving that many turtle lives by giving up all of our teeths? So anyways, I can appreciate this one. I can appreciate Donald Trump stepping in for the little man and taking care of some of these little petty things that government's trying to take out of our lives for absolutely no reason. That's the demon quality of government, where they're like, what little annoying... I'm already taxing these people. I'm already stealing their money through inflation. What else can I do just to make their lives a little bit worse? And one of the things on that list was, let's take away their straws. When they go into an iced coffee place and they're already overpaying up the dick just to drink a better coffee, let's give them a lid that will then spill all over themselves to get the ice cubes crashing against your teeth and some cunt barista going, it's a sippy cup. Yeah, I'm not 4 years old. I didn't want a sippy cup. I wanted to like heroin-like, you know, where you're like, I don't even want to snort this. I want to shoot it into my veins. I want a straw in here so I can down this as quickly as possible and get it directly into my brain stream. All right, wait, here, let's roll a clip. Here's what Donald Trump had to say about the straws.
I'm committed to buying guns, owning guns.
Oh, wrong clip.
As far as us rebuilding it, we may give it to other states and build sections of it. Other people, they do it. Our auspices.
But I'll give you back your straws. Wrong clip. We'll get into the Gaza thing soon enough. And then here was the other one. Trump to nix Biden restrictions on water-using appliances, light bulbs, common sense standards. Hear what he had to say. The light bulb rule had been in the works since 2007 with the passage of the Energy Independence and Security Act, but the Trump administration blocked the rule from taking effect in his first term. Trump has railed against the new light bulbs for years, claiming incandescent light bulbs are cheaper and make people look better in their soft yellow light. They took away our light bulb, he said at a rally in 2019. I want an incandescent light. I want to look better. Okay. I want to pay less money to look better. It's so simple. I mean, I'm not that good at lights and light bulbs, but this guy's worked in television. Seems like he knows what he's talking about. Trump said, does that make sense? You pay much less and you look much better. And on top of that, with the new bulbs, if they break, it's considered a hazardous waste site. It's all gases inside, and you're supposed to bring it back to where you brought it in a sealed container. Give me a break. I love it. I love the little petty shit. And that the president has to get on board and just correct the little petty shit that we have to deal with. And here's some things I'd like to see Trump take on. Firstly is car chimes, because where's that going? You know how much more aggressive car chiming has gotten? I'd like to see these car chimes. I don't want to put on a seatbelt. They're too loud. I'll buckle if I want to. I don't need to listen to ding, 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 ding for 45 minutes. Which, you know, I used to be really good at toning out that car chime. Because I at some point, people would be in the car with me. They'd be like, are you going to put on your... And I'd be like, oh, yeah, because I get good at toning these things out. After living in shitty neighborhoods such as Washington Heights and listening to that kind of shit and being able to fall asleep during it, at some point, I won't even hear this bullshit anymore. I'm real mad about it right now. At some point, I'm going to feel uncomfortable unless I have the noises of wood machines and bad dance class music in the background. I'll actually, you know, the way they have sleep machines. You give me 4 more years of not having a conversation with that guy and dealing with this problem, I will be showing up to locations with a sleep machine that duplicates those noises. Or I'll be going into a coffee shop to getting work done. Someone will come over and, oh, what are you listening to? And I'll be like, oh, yeah, it's the background noise I need for getting things done. Anyways, I used to be able to tone out that chime. And they've gotten so aggressive, it might as well be a heavy metal music song or an Asian lady go, you buckle now, you buckle now, you buckle now. And you're like, I can't ignore this. You guys win. All right, I'll buckle. You won that one. Here's another one. Urinals have too much spray back. Nobody's talking about it, but some of these urinals, they're putting so much urine back on our legs. And so many of us, I know it, you know it, we don't change our pants all that often. Maybe once a month if you're wearing jeans. How often do you even wash them? We're all walking around with too much urine on our pants. That's another one that I'd like to see him deal with. I'm just saying, if Donald Trump is going to start dealing with the petty things and the small things, can we get a petty grievance list over to the president of things that we feel that Donald Trump absolutely needs to deal with? Because top of my list right now would be car chimes. Banning the coming together of wood shop stations and music classes. I feel like those two things need to be remain separate, because if they aren't, then we're going to go back to the woke stupidity of things that we've seen on Insta. Watch this. I bet he's got a channel on Instagram where he goes, if you just dance and you dance to the fine tunes of shitty rave music, but you also do the manly wood chopping, the trauma that you can release, because trauma, it's not that you've got bad habits, bad thinking patterns, or anything else that you could correct by using your conscious brain. It's that something happened to you in the past and you're going to carry that with you for the rest of your life. Unless you follow my cure, the only thing that can help get the trauma, which completely removes your human agency, unless you buy into my system, because my system's the only way to relieve the trauma. It's not working on yourself. It's not exercising. It's not trying to better your business. It's not trying to find a spouse that completes your life. It's none of those things. It's baked in. Your parents did whatever they did to you as a kid, and now you got the trauma within your blood. And the only way that you can relieve the trauma is you have to have lemons in your tea in the morning, and you also need to take my class that combines dancing to shitty music while buzzing through things and building a table. If you build a table while also, then you can cure your trauma. And I would add that to the list, is banning those type of personalities from the internet. Where's the EPA regulators for stupid horse shit that people pitch on Instagram or whatever this guy's business is? And on that note, let's reduce urinal spray back, and let's get rid of car chimes. Oh, you know what? I'll take some petty. I will take petty comments from the section. Well, let's see what you guys have. Frank Stone and Alice. I only buy vehicles that still have ashtrays for the weed pipe. Trout Slap. Oh my God. LOL. Rude Boy, urinal splash is no joke, dude. I got some bad urinal splashing when I was out in Key West. Bad urinal splashes. I was wearing shorts, and I was like, man, I never realized how much urine I got on my shins. That was gross. And then I had an incident where it started coming, urinal spray back, you know? Women don't realize what men will go through to not have to wait on a bathroom line. Like, you think we're being all quick and efficient. It's that, no, we're willing to trade urinal spray back for not having to wait to go to the bathroom. And I think that's the difference between men and women. Women, they'll wait on a whole line to then get in there and then yap at some other lady and put on makeup and hold up the line because this is their special moment in the bathroom and they want to share it with their friends and put on makeup and make conversation. Whereas the dudes are like, I'll deal with urine on my legs. Let's get this the fuck over with. I want to get back to my beer or walking around in circles anxiously. I want to get this bathroom usage over as quickly as possible so I can return to my previous activity of being nervous about where I can find a bathroom. If any truer statement was ever said about my entire existence, it was that line right there, and I should turn that into a bit. Barconius, haha, that's a pissing technique problem. Piss down the side of the urinal. You know, I get what you're saying here, and not all. Some urinals don't have good. You'll end up peeing on the other guy. That's a bold move for all urinals. I know what you're talking about. Sometimes it's got a real sidewall and a curvature. I'm not new to urinals. I don't not pay attention to these things. Barconius, the angle of your dangle has to be inversely proportionate to the heat of your meat. You know what? Maybe you've done better research on the topic, and I haven't been paying attention to all the variables as much as I just claimed I was. And, you know, I invite you onto the show but you have to make a full PowerPoint presentation out of it. You can't just come on and bullshit. You can bullshit your PowerPoint presentation, but if you'd like to come on with a presentation for proper urinal formations for reduced urinal sprayback, I would love to have that presentation on the Run Your Mouth podcast. Evil Fandango. You got to angle the stream into the urinal. If you're going to straight on, it's going to spray back. You know what? Maybe these are things just my parents didn't teach me. Maybe you guys have better techniques. Or maybe I'm speaking about bad urinals that, same as we got the lead paint out of buildings, there's some bad government urinals out there in airports and parks that haven't been updated. Mr. Rude Boy, how about sprinklers not spraying cars and sticking to the plant life only? That's not bad. Barconius, I'll bring a flow chart like I'm Charlie fucking Day trying to solve a conspiracy. You got to provide the red yarn and the thumbtacks. That's what I'm talking about. robsnewsroom@gmail.com. We're going to be doing another episode on Friday. Hit me up. We'll get that done. And hoping to ramp up and do more episodes because I actually prefer this nonsense to in-depth news things. All right, and on that note, I have like 40 more slides. Now let's get into immigration stuff. You've got Donald Trump. They're starting to round people up and getting rid of criminals like this guy who, very white, really blended himself in for some Mexican gangbanger. And you got the guy on his right, the guy on the left. They're all showing up. Man, do they look cool. They've got extra guns, the John Wick vests. And, I mean, not the John Wick vest. That was the wrong example. But you get what I'm saying. These guys look cool. They look tough, and they're rounding up the real criminals. And then I watched this video where some real undercover, looking like they're just coming for takeout people, took out some people in a kitchen. And, you know, I hate to take AOC's side on this, but when Seamless can't deliver you food anymore, do the restaurant workers last, if at all? If they're here and they already got jobs and they're working, do we really want all the fast food prices going up? I've spoken to some people, and they're telling me that in their kitchens, their workers are terrified, and they've got good relationships with those workers, and it seems like a win-win situation. So I don't really know why you want every single person terrified to show up to work for restaurants to figure out. You're going to end up with like underground kitchens below the kitchens where you got the actual staff working. or you're going to end up with like these delivery center things where all of the food is just coming through seamless delivery with the one company that's figured out the good visa work programs that they're allowed to. It's going to be like the farms where you get the big consolidated farms who are able to import workers while you legislate the hell out of the independent farms. You're going to end up with every mom and shop business having to close, and then some conglomerates running better delivery businesses because they've worked out some sort of an angle where they're allowed to have foreign workers. And that's going to turn out to be unpopular over time. Go after the criminals and go with my second-class amnesty idea. It's a good idea. Now this one, I read this one today. And sometimes the nice thing about taking a couple days is that you come back to you're like, yeah, that's not that good. I don't have to talk about that. But I laughed really hard when I read this. And so this was from the New York Post. They were talking about the sophistication of the tunnels that the Mexican cartels use. And if I like a tunnel, so I wouldn't get rid of the tunnels. If anything, I would just try and pretend like you didn't know about the tunnel and then just surveil the tunnel and then bust everybody when they start delivering the stuff. You know, be sneaky about it. You find out about the tunnel, you monitor the tunnel, and then you try and let people go as far from the tunnel as they can, and then you arrest them until they then have to figure out, shit, they got this tunnel monitored. And then they got to start guessing, are they monitoring all the tunnels? If you just find a tunnel and destroy the tunnel, then they just know that, we can't use that tunnel. They found that tunnel. Be a little more sophisticated here. Let them through the tunnel, monitor them, see everything that they're doing, and then collect them all. And then they got to guess. How'd they know that we were all involved in this thing? And you're like, because I monitored the tunnel. I'm available for hire. robsnewsroom@gmail.com. Doing the deep tunnel dives. So anyways, I'm reading this article. It's a guy talking about how they're going to go about destroying the tunnels. And I couldn't believe it because I thought of a joke. And then by the next sentence, he said the exact thing that I thought was offensively funny. So let's give it a read. He noted that tunnels are not simple underground holes, but rather complicated underground cities complete with air ducts, office space, weapon stashes, and railway tracks. Brown says he doesn't believe the U.S. would go to the same length as the Israel Defense Forces did when destroying the tunnels. And I read that line. I was like, yeah, because you're probably not going to bomb kids' schools and hospitals to get rid of tunnels in Mexico. And then, lo and behold, the U.S. would never blow up a school under any circumstance, he said. But if we had a 9/11 every day like Israel, I think American attitudes would change. All right. We've got more from Donald Trump. I think we covered the good, getting rid of some of the petty nonsense that's going on. And then this is the last piece of Donald Trump greatness, and then we'll get into some of the recent follies. Trump often muses about running for a third term, which the Constitution does not allow. He tells advisors it's a tactic to grab attention and irritate Democrats. That is from the New York Times, and that's pretty hilarious. Is just he's going to float more of the dictator won't give up power just to rile them all up if he doesn't even plan on doing it. That's a fun troll job right there. I mean, the last time he trolled that one went a little bit too far, and a bunch of people had to sit in jail for 4 years. But there's also something funny about not learning your lesson and still being completely reckless and pretending like you got the bravado of a dictator and getting everyone nervous that you're not going to ever give up your job and that you are an actual dictator. That's fun. That is funny, and it makes me wonder if perhaps. And I'm stealing from Clint here. I think I saw him post about this. Things just come past the feed, and you're like, that's an interesting thought. Pretty sure Clint was the one that had posted that perhaps this is a negotiation tactic by Donald Trump in saying that we're going to own Gaza. And then this was the clip that I was playing before. So you know what? There's no reason to replay it. But it's Donald Trump saying that we're going to own Gaza. And perhaps he is just fucking with Netanyahu. He has but the idea is just, hey, if people can just claim stuff and it's because you bombed it, well, those were our bombs and we supported it, so we're going to own it. We're going to do the nicest thing anyone's ever done with it. No one's ever seen hotels like this. The world's going to want to stay in the Gaza.
I'm committed to buying and owning Gaza. As far as us rebuilding it, we may give it to other states at least the sections of it. Other people may do it through our auspices, but we're committed to owning it, taking it, and making sure that Hamas doesn't move back. There's nothing to move back into. The place is a demolition site. It'll be the remainder will be demolished. Everything's demolished. I mean, you can't live in this very unsafe.
And so he met with the leader of Jordan about this, and this is from the Wall Street Journal. Trump promised that the U.S. would cherish Gaza, but he bluntly reiterated that the U.S. would take over the war-shattered strip. We're going to take it. Asked what authority he would invoke, he said, the United States authority. All right. And then out in Syria, and then we're going to move on. Turkey is mulling permanent military bases in Syria, which Syria has essentially just turned into an all-you-can-eat buffet. Israel's grabbing bases, and Turkey's like, we want in on the action. All right, let's thank another one of our sponsors, sheathunderwear.com. You can actually just get sheath.com. They upgraded from sheathunderwear.com to sheath.com. I got my sheets on right now. What do I get? I get the Reds. Very nice. Very comfortable. It's the only thing that can get me through having to listen to this bullshit over there is the fact that my balls are in the most comfortable underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. Because sometimes the universe sends things like this your way. And you're like, am I part of the damned? Is Calvinism real? And my whole life is going to be having to deal with things like this, and I can't possibly win, and I'll be a loser forever, and that's the way the algorithm is, and I can read all of the books, the Think and the Grow Rich, and I can try and foster a better positive mental attitude, and I can work hard, and it's not going to matter because the algorithm's just set to fucking loser mode, and no matter where I go, Delta's not going to give me my bags, and these people, that happened in Key West, but, you know, we skipped the airport stuff this week, and I'm going to have to listen to bullshit like this, but then I look down at my beautiful-looking junk in the comfort of Sheath underwear, and I know that I could save 20% off by using promo code RYM, and I realize, you know what? I think I'm going to make it. I don't think people in the category of the damned have their balls feeling this good and looking this good in underwear that's this comfortable. So, if you're dealing with stressful situations and feeling like you can't possibly win and the whole universe has turned against you, it's time to upgrade to sheath.com, and you put yourself in that underwear. You take a second, you look in the mirror, and you go, it's not that bad. I think I'm going to make it, thanks to Bobby the Bank and this beautiful underwear that makes me feel good. Sheath.com, promo code RYM, 20% off the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. You'll thank me. You'll come out to Porch Store and go, thank you for the recommendation for the sheaths. All right, let's take a couple comments. Evil Fandango, tremendous package, packing power, simply the best. Frank Stone analysis. Reagan, when asked what he thought about Vietnam, let's pave it. Moderately amused. Frank Stone analysis, as long as he has audio, he is at peak performance. All right, not the best batch of comments, but, you know, you guys don't know when I'm going to comments. It's not like you're putting in your best right when I go to them. Let's take a look at D.O.G.E. We're going to cover a couple more topics, and then call an episode, maybe come back tomorrow and finish what was left of the show. Here we have the Time magazine cover putting Elon Musk in the presidential office at the presidential desk, and they're learning how to get at Trump. They're realizing that no matter how much good work D.O.G.E. does, Elon Musk is worth more money than Donald Trump, and if they can just poke at Donald Trump and go, look at how great this other guy is. Oh, this other guy's really running the show. From what I understand, you've been bought and bitched out by this guy. Even heard he's banging your wife. That might be the thing that actually gets rid of him. I got mixed feelings on the Elon Musk. We talked about it before, and he's easy to celebrate as he returned free speech to the internet, and now as he exposes government crimes in funding. And it's also easy to root for him while he's in the role of Hatchet Man, and he's doing the things that you agree with. And now, I don't think that it's a little bit like the Bobby Kennedy thing, where maybe in a perfect world, if you're going to be going after the pharmaceutical companies, you can do it one of two ways. You can do it in private practice, or you could do it by working in the government. You shouldn't be able to profit off of it while you're doing it. And there is a weird thing with Elon Musk. I don't know the ins and outs of everything. I don't. But, you know, run your mouth. We're bullshitting here. And we got an incredible track record of being right, but we don't always do big research deep dives. I've always kind of thought that he's a bit of a grifter. Seems to roll out products that never come out. Seem to keep propping up that stock price. There's nothing I've seen uglier than these Cybertrucks when I see them on the road. They don't make sense. They're ugly cars. The whole green energy scam and what's going on with the cars, I'm not a big fan of. The mining and pretending like we're being better, the cars that don't last as long on the road and are more difficult to recycle. I don't know that any of this is better for the government. And he certainly made some money off of working along with the government for credit schemes and whatnot. He seems to have some favorable treatment in terms of being able to send up things into the sky and claim space real estate. I think he's on the side of a level of a defense contractor whose interests might be more aligned with ours than other defense contractors. But in this role, it appears to me like he's acting like a hatchet man, and as opposed to doing things that increase the power, the size, scope of government and the fraud of government, at least in this case, he seems to be working through the books with an efficiency that usually takes 3 years of a commission and some guy who sounds like a cattle rancher coming back with nothing. He seems to be actually getting into the system and letting us know where the fraud and the abuse is in a way that is undeniably effective. And it seems like people are up in arms for two reasons. One is it exposes shit. There's a fuck ton of fraud and abuse here and money that's going to absolutely nothing. And perhaps even taking away some power for the Democrats and that they were patting their own wallets and also paying for their own media, as was seen by the BBC, Politico, and who knows what other rackets. But it's bigger than that because the signal is everyone's looking for status. You're looking to live a good life. You're looking to be successful. And so if there's money in being successful by trans studies, people are going to do that. And then everything becomes dishonest markets. Nothing's about competing. Nothing's about creating value. Nothing's about what consumers want. It's just false signals from the government as they prop monies into industries that they're looking to prop up, and then people then working in those industries. And so it's easy to cheer for the guy as he's being a hatchet man. I do wonder, though, if maybe we're all getting this one wrong. He's going to collect all the data and actually do something nefarious, but I haven't seen that storyline explained, and I remain open to it. I'm not just going to, or I don't think we're just here championing it and going that this is flawless, perfect, the greatest thing that's ever happened. I think Twitter's a big win, and I think to the extent that he's exposing fraud and corruption, that seems excellent. And he seems to have done a great job of it so far. I also don't understand exactly what the data's already been collected by the government. I don't understand how him sifting through it to expose fraud and corruption is dangerous. And I also don't understand how if Donald Trump was voted into office and he says, hey, I'd like for this guy to make the recommendations and to sift through this data, and then it then is being approved by Trump and it's actually getting rid of bad spending and fraud and abuse. I don't really understand or haven't seen the other side of this argument well articulated as to why this is so dangerous. This was, however, from the New York Times. I thought this was interesting that Elon Musk is firing agencies that have oversight over his own companies. And so this is the first I'm seeing of something articulated as to the problem of the conflict of interest. But we do have, I want to take a second. I'm sorry, this is ADD. I'm going to prop up the gain on this for a second so you guys can actually hear the shit that I'm listening to. Is that coming through at all? Or I don't know. Maybe I got the perfect mic here that I have to listen to this bullshit and you guys don't have to hear any of it. And you guys are only hearing the tunes. You're not hearing the saws. I came in here last night. The whole room was shaking like it was a fucking earthquake. Anyways, we're not going to get distracted by this. I'm not in school. There's no test that I won't be prepared for because I was looking out the window and paying attention to the noises in the hallway. I don't need to be bothered by what's going on there. We've been cooking. And this is the best song they're playing yet. I could get into this one. It's very tough to have, I guess, one standard to abide by here because it's impossible to know, were these all organizations that were going after Elon Musk wrongfully to get retribution and to damage his businesses because he restored free speech to the internet? Or is Elon Musk engaged in bad business practices that prop up his stock every time his options are coming due and he rolls out some piece of equipment that he's never actually going to bring to market? Or was it just government going after him because they don't like that he was a billionaire who was actually not working with the last regime? And so when Elon Musk then gets a government job and he actually cleans out actual fraud and abuse, which exists in agencies that were coming after him, is that good or bad? It's definitely not the perfect way to approach this. But it's hard to know. And I even saw Joe Rogan was talking about this, where they went off after the wrong autistic guy when they made the claims, and so he's got his little wizards who are good with the big data and collecting the data and figuring out all the fraud and abuse from all the organizations that were making it difficult for him to operate his business. And that is a problem that we have right now. I think Bill Gates, there was a time when he was more focused on Microsoft, and then they wanted to break up his monopoly, and he realized, oh, the game here is more on being on the side of government than it is actually trying to create products. Not saying he was a good person when he stole those products, packaged them, and, did all the things that he did. But I think at some point you butt heads with government and you realize, oh, I can't just be in the market creating good products that people will like, because government wants a piece of the action, and they might have sided with a competitor and ruined my business, or, seize my business or help the competitor. And so I have to be somewhat involved with government. And so it all does kind of come back to government, and that we live in this world where government does fuck with your business, and so you have to engage with it. And so in your decision to engage with it or to try and take it over so that it benefits your industry, if you're doing good work for your industry, I guess trying to rig the game so that you can have more of your industry could be helpful. Like pharmaceutical companies. Let's say the FDA actually, you have a good product and the FDA won't allow it into market, and so you figure out how to lobby this person, get this senator, blah, blah, blah. You get the thing on the top of the pile and your good product ends up to market. So in that case, you use the fraudulent system to benefit society. But then you can just as easily, that's the problem, because it's not the market, it's not market mechanisms, it's not whether or not the product is valuable, it's whether or not you hijacked government for government to allow your product to exist. That's the problem here. And so to point out, hey, Elon Musk has a conflict of interest in what he's doing, and that he's going after organizations that were going after him, I don't know that he's necessarily the bad guy there. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Anyways, there was a brief meeting of, I think it was an hour long. I didn't watch the whole thing. It was brief to me because I only caught the clips. But here were some of the better clips I saw of when Elon Musk was in the Oval Office preaching or pitching the work he does with USAID. And he's kind of the lovable autist, where for such a brilliant person, he doesn't speak that coherently, or he has random moments where it's real coherent and on point. And then there's just goofball, out of place laughing like a villain, arm movements that don't make sense. And then it's all cute. He's got his kid, but in reality, it's because he's got 95 of them, and this is probably the one day of the year that he spends with this kid. And so he's like, yeah, all right, yeah, I know, it's my day, I'll take him, but he's going to have to come to the Oval Office. And then he gives him a little speech before, and he's like, hey, you better look cute. I'm trying to look like a human being in front of all these people. But here were some of the better moments of Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Let's roll the clips.
That's crazy things like just cursory examination of Social Security. And we've got people in there that are 150 years old. Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't know. Okay. They should be on the Guinness Book of World Records. They're missing out. That's the case where, I think they're probably dead. It's my guess. Or they should be very famous. One of the two.
So there's the first fraud and abuse that he's labeling, is that clearly there are Social Security payments that are not going to the right people. Listen, I ran PayPal. I know the way this thing works. I can just work through this and get rid of some of the fraudulent payments. And sorry to the guy out there that's claiming your mom's Social Security check and is drinking the good trailer park life of just drinking and affording your junk food off a Social Security check of someone that's long dead. And on that note, let's not send that guy to jail. If anything, we should send him a letter and go, hey, man, nice grift. Thank you for not claiming more old people and just not notifying us that somebody died. and it's on us because we just continue to send checks even though the person's 150 years old. So whoever was engaged in that fraud and abuse, let maybe send them one last package of Cheetos and alcohol and say, hey, man, it's going to be time to go back to work, but don't worry, you're almost eligible for Social Security yourself. But I'm just, it's hard to criticize what Elon Musk is doing unless you can tell me what data he has and what's the dangers of what he can do with the data. To the extent that he's recognizing fraud and abuse and cleaning it up, such as here, this one's pretty obvious. Why is government so ineffective at payment processing that it's been making payments to people that are 150 years old? All right, here's another one.
What we're finding is that a bunch of the fraud is not even going to Americans. So I think we can all agree that if there's going to be fraud, it should at least go to Americans. But a bunch of the fraud rings that are operating in the United States and taking advantage of the federal government, especially in the entitlements programs.
You guys are telling me that the clips are echoing. I'm actually... Let's try this. Tell me... Maybe if I pull my... Let me... I think there's 2 adjustments I can make on that, and you guys tell me if this works. I just muted myself. Give me a second. Let me try and make an adjustment on the clips. All right, let me know if you guys have double-backed audio, and if not, I can make another change here. Let me know if this double-backs.
Are actually foreign fraud rings. They're operating in other countries and actually exporting money to other countries. We should stop that. And this is big numbers. We're talking about $100 to $200 billion a year.
Sure.
Serious money.
So there you have Elon Musk claiming that $100 to $200 billion a year is going to fraud in other countries. So once again, I mean that sounds like a significant chip in the amount of money that's being wasted. I mean, if there's $200 billion that is going abroad, just spent fraudulently, and he's finding that in week 1. Think about. I mean, that's a crack at the deficit. $200 billion, that's more than what the wall costs. That's about, I think, what we spent on the Ukraine war. Could be wrong on that. All right, and then I got one more clip, and I do think we just solved the echo problem. So let's play one more clip. Give me a second. Got to mute.
And also, could you mention some of the things that your team has found, some of the crazy numbers, including the woman that walked away with about $30 million,
right,
etc.?
Well, we do find it sort of rather odd that there are quite a few people in the bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position, which is, what happened at USAID. We're just curious as to where it came from. Maybe they're very good at investing, in which case we should take their investment advice, perhaps. But just there seems to be mysteriously they get wealthy. We don't know why. Where does it come from? And I think the reality is that they're getting wealthy at the taxpayer expense. That's the honest truth of it.
To the extent that he's cleaning up fraud and abuse that is this flagrant and blatant, let's rhyme over here. I don't know how anyone is taking the other side of this one. I mean, I think it's obvious. I think it's because it was their money and their organizations, and it was lining their pockets. And I think anyone who's out there screaming against this and the constitutional crisis that it is to be cleaning up fraud and abuse, unless you're also saying, hey, here's how we can clean up this fraud and abuse without Elon Musk doing it, it sounds to me like you're defending the fraud and the abuse, or that you think it's better that the fraud and the abuse still exists. All right, last sponsor of today's episode, PhoenixAmmo.com. They're not part of the fraud and abuse racket. How many people in the big military industrial complex are just cashing checks from the government off of bullets and that's how you know that this guy's got good bullets, is because he's not just taking a government check, and so he doesn't have to worry about how good or bad his product is. The only way that this guy makes money is if people like you, who like having bullets on hand for your firearms that you're over the legal age and you're going to use responsibly, are purchasing. And so he actually has to have good bullets. Unlike all these government companies that will sell to the government, just go to phoenixammo.com and support the company that won't sell bullets to the government. That will only sell it to you, and know that they are quality because they don't get free government money. So they have to actually have a good product. All right, here we go. Big Ballz. This was all the rage last week. Big Ballz, it was working for Elon Musk. He was muck cracking. He's working it, and he had some racist tweets as a kid. And listen, if you're going to find autistic kids that are good with numbers, there's going to be some racist tweets. You're also going to fire every single lady from a marketing position because they got slutty pictures of them on Instagram. We all do dumb shit on the internet. There should be the great internet amnesty bill from, I don't know, age 12 to age 26 or something. You should be not held responsible for any comments you did or did not say online until maybe you're 33 or until you're married and have your first kid or something. I mean, the fact that people say dumb shit on the internet, we're going to get to a point in time where everyone said some dumb shit on the internet. You had an OnlyFans for a little while, and people do dumb shit. And if you're really good at your job, which is autistically cracking numbers, it's another stupid metric. Although it does look a little bit bad when you got Donald Trump coming in and everyone's all concerned evil racism, and then you got this guy talking about the pure bloods and whatnots. It's not the best of optics, but I mean, the kids say dumb shit. You know, when I'm age 50, don't play back what I said on Run Your Mouth. CNN, let's just plow. Let's plow through it all. Let's have a long episode. Let's leave nothing left on the table. FBI turns over details of 5,000 employees who worked on January 6 cases to Trump Justice Department as agents sue. And speaking of releasing the Epstein list and having hot Anna Paulina Lena out there telling all the storylines, you want a good storyline. Donald Trump administration, write this down. Here's a good storyline. If half of the field officers at the FBI were wasting their time putting political prisoners in jail, then divert all those resources to things such as pedophilia rings, and then every single time you bust a pedophile, you look back at the Democrats and say, look at the wasted resources that empowered these pedophiles to still be out there touching kids. And then clean up drugs. You should have FBI drug testing units that get out there and just remove fentanyl. Just take pictures of kids being saved, pedophiles going to jail, and drugs that have been cleaned from fentanyl, and turn around and go, look, we're actually using the resources to help you. And then once you do all that, once you get rid of all the pedophiles, you get rid of all the fentanyl, then you go back to taking care of these internet scammers who are helping grandma, and get some film crews, get your hot people like Anna Paulina Luna in front of the cameras, and showcase these stories. Showcase the gangs, round up all of the gangs, these Argentinian or Venezuelan gangs, all these gangs that came into the country, all these pedophilia rings, all of these scammers, all of these things that just exist, and showcase the numbers. Showcase for each agent the productivity and how many people that they're actually busting, and the fact that for 4 years, pedophiles were still able to walk free in this country because instead of having the FBI use those resources to go after those individuals, they put political prisoners in jail that were then released 4 years later. And so you wasted all the resources for nothing and allowed pedophiles to continue to run free. This is my recommendation. Sell the shit out of the storyline. Firstly, it benefits humanity. Get rid of the pedophilia. No one likes it. It's a winning issue. Put all the resources into that first. You can have Kash Patel come out on day one and go, listen, there's a lot of things that the FBI is responsible for and we're going to continue to do, but we're going to take 80% of our field agents and we are going to clean out all the pedophiles from this country. And run 1 million of those Ice-T episodes and bust them all, get them all in jail, and then you can turn back and go, this is what the Democrats allowed to remain in this country as they put political prisoners into jail. We got Alex Mapes coming through with live breaking news that RFK and Tulsi are confirmed. That's pretty cool. Shows Donald Trump's power that he actually was able to push them in and get them through. And hopefully Tulsi Gabbard was lying through her teeth and actually ramps down on the illegal data collection of American information, which, as they're yelling about Elon Musk having our data, I don't know why they're not concerned about government having it. Out of work, Kamala Harris showed up to Lakers game and nobody even cared as she sat in the cheap seats. That's pretty great because she drank the Kool-Aid of how wonderful she is because she managed to be in that position and really thought she had something special. And it's kind of incredible after all the talking a big game, having to return to not even just be given the good seats and nobody cared that you're there. And then people made a whole big stink out of 60 Minutes actually putting out the unedited version. And the news moves too quickly, so I didn't go through all of it. I'd remembered that they had specifically edited a bad moment in regards to what was going on in Gaza, but this was a quote that I came across, and I noticed a little bit about the way that, and we're not going to spend too much time on Kamala Harris because who cares anymore, but I did notice a little bit something in her speech patterns that, all right, let me just read it. I truly believe in the promise of America. I do. And I love the American people. We are people of ambition and aspirations and dreams and optimism and hope. If you look at the character of who we are and how we have achieved the strength that we have achieved, I believe in large part is because of our character and our belief in the promise of America. And I'm running for president because I want to do everything that is possible to create an opportunity for people to achieve these goals, those ambitions, and those dreams. I don't really care all that much. USAID is a rogue agency. This is from the Wall Street Journal, and I want to read these two paragraphs. What warranted such secrecy? We learned that the aid that was supposed to alleviate economic distress in the war-torn nation was spent on such frivolous activities as sending Ukrainian models and designers on junkets to New York City, London Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week, and South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. When I launched a formal investigation, this is further in the article, with the House Foreign Affairs Committee, USAID relented. Turns out the agency is allowing grantees to skim significant amounts of money up to and even beyond half of the total for themselves. Once again, putting the question back on the Democrats freaking out about the exposure of this fraud. Do you stand by the fraud? And why do you think cleaning this up is such a big problem? All right, I'm going to play this last video.
What was really,
and then we're going to call it an episode. And we'll be back with more on Friday. And going to figure out how to do more of these so that, I don't know, so that we can cover more. Because I don't need this much to talk about in a single episode. Let's go. Last video for today. Got to mute myself so we don't double back. Here we go. Give me a second. Producer's kind of retarded. Doesn't even know where the mouse is at the moment. Doesn't know how to mute the thing. There's a second way for me to mute me, though. All right, here we go.
What was really lovely about what you just said is just to remind people we built a government to work for all of us.
Yes.
We're just all better off if, in fact, the bird flu gets under control and that our eggs won't kill us. We are all better off. We're better off. We make these investments in infrastructure. We make these investments in our payment systems so people don't get cheated. That's how we keep the economy going. And look, bless everybody who gets out there and makes a fortune. Bless everybody who gets up every day and goes to work. But understand the underpinnings of all that are something we all invested in. And now we've got Donald Trump and his co-president, Elon Musk, and they're just running a wrecking ball through it. And it's not like it's an abstract problem. It is really and truly the kid who needs an aid to be able to sit in class so that they can get an education, taking that aid away and maybe taking away that whole classroom. It's these very real ways that people are touched by this.
And, so we got two problems here. And here's the good thing, is that Elizabeth Warren is the best that they have to try and sell this storyline. Remember how well she polled? Remember how likable this lady is? So here's the good news, is that the Democrats have no bench, and they don't even have someone who can hit the media circuit and sell the storyline of why this is a problem, because they're stuck with this unlikable old granny pants that lied about being an Indian, and no one cares what she has to say. So good luck. Good luck selling us on why this is such a problem. And of course, it always goes to the same thing. This is dangerous because of the basket of things that we were doing. One of the things was this cancer fund for the kids. And so unless you allow for all the fraud and the abuse, well, why do we have to allow for all the fraud and the abuse? Well, what if they come out and they say, we're not trying to get rid of schools. No one said we're getting rid of schools. No one said we're trying to get rid of education. We're trying to get rid of the fraud and the abuse. Why are you taking the other side of this one? But of course, she doesn't speak about the fraud and the abuse. They just instantly go to, well, if they continue to do what they're doing, then we're all going to die because the roads won't have the roads and the schools will be gone and your kid won't get an education. That's not what they're doing. They won't take on the fraud and the abuse part. Not gonna mention that part. I like how I started turning her into Brian Regan there. But anyways, point I'm trying to make is that the Democrats don't have anyone to sell it. They don't really have anything to sell. I don't understand how they're trying to take the opposite side of let's not clean up the fraud and the abuse. All right, that is our episode. Thank you for hanging out. I shouldn't be doing this at the end of the episode. Rob's Newsroom at gmail.com. Start email me the porches. Last week I was home a couple days and I was shooting that thing. People are getting back to me and I haven't responded to them yet. But I do have to start lining up some porches. I'm lucky this year. I think all of the Dave Smith dates are on the books. So I actually know all the weekends that I'm free. And so I can start forecasting ahead. Usually I got to try and wait for those dates to come in because those are fun and lucrative. And so don't want to miss any of those dates. But they're all in. So Rob's Newsroom at gmail.com. Want to start putting things together. Also, I want to start seeing some Fauci t-shirts on TV. I'm going to come up with a prize package of if you can pull the old Baba Booey and start showing up behind news things, or if I can start seeing on sports games, prosecute Fauci t-shirts. They got the bumper stickers up there. Spread the message. And it's a simple message. Let's look into the guy. It's a way of educating the public of let's not let him get away with it. And it would warm my heart. It would get me through another day of listening to this person over here if I could turn on my television and see a prosecute Fauci t-shirt on the background of a person reporting on the street, up at a ball game, out in the stands. And that's robbernsteinmerch.com. You also got some Run Your Mouth stuff. You got some cool tees. You got all sorts of stuff going on there. And putting together the Porch Store dates, and that is our episode. Thank you for hanging out with us. Back Friday with another one, and gonna figure out when these people aren't here, and I don't know. Maybe I'll start becoming a 5 a.m. tea and nicotine person. All right, that's